an autobiography. Only took me 82 years to write it.
Well, there's a change in the weather.
We'd had lots of boats going up. My father had come back from the war, having seen the Atlantic and the Pacific from the decks of ships, and I think he just wanted a closer look. But this story isn't about the boats, but about how they seem to carry me through the stages of the formation of a personal identity, whatever that is. We really don't know what an individual self is. What makes us the same person from helpless infant in a crib to pimply teenager to master of the universe to what you see in the mirror today? They're all the same person, or at least that's what we tell each other. The purpose of an autobiography, it seems to me, is to hear from the horse's mouth, as it were, how one person evolved, and from a point of view unassailably subjective. Our identity ought to be our own, don't you think? An autobiography is told from inside out. It's a confession. It's a record of our intersection with others. Maybe that's what each of us really is, a series of collisions with everybody else. We can marvel and compare. Yes, that happened to me. No, I would never have done that. Maybe all autobiographies ought to be entitled, What Was He Thinking? My story is about a kid who couldn't spell, who was eventually nominated for a Pulitzer Prize and Best Drama Series Emmy Award. For my generation, opportunity was everywhere. The opportunity to be ourselves. As a kid obituary writer, I learned that one mistake, getting the funeral viewing wrong, for example, meant loved ones would miss their last goodbye and you'd pay for it. Sailboats taught me to pay attention too. We college kids set off on my father's boat, full of beans. I knew everything, of course, at that point, and I was the skipper, wasn't I? Why, you never saw such confidence and muscles and certainty. Off we went across the entrance to New York Harbor with me in command. We entered the anchorage under spinnaker, just to douse among the summer fleet sipping cocktails, give them a show. I picked a spot to drop the hook that was unclaimed, and I thought I heard applause at our flawless approach. It was always like that for me at age 19. Nothing to it at all. By morning, I had grown up some, since the chart showed I had chosen a sandbar to anchor on, and by breakfast, I was a laughingstock. There were many such lessons from boats. I found journalism, we called it newspapering then, quite suitable as a way to make a living. Something happened, and you were sent out to find out what did, and you got paid for it. I worked my way up through regional papers, never looking back, marveling at the luck of the job and the power to simply observe. A byline, a glass of gin, and I was free to be me even if I had no idea what that exactly was. Eventually, at the Washington Post, I became arts editor to mingle with movie stars or intellectual giants. And then on Bob Woodward's investigative unit to speed through Lebanon with Uzi machine guns sticking out the windows in search of terrorists. That was work. It was more like every boy's dream. And then the wrenching change from known to unknown, and the world of Hollywood, imposed by fate and circumstance.
Maybe the only way to fight terrorism is to become terrorists ourselves.
And Peter Strauss lead the greatest manhunt ever in Under
I was
Siege.
still Pinocchio, but now detoured to Pleasure Island, and a radical change from everything I had previously believed and valued. In television, everything was made up. And for 25 years, I cast off the old fetters of journalism and made drama out of the world. The adjustment was a divorce in every way from the world I had known among talented people who now made everything up, including often themselves, in a climate of money and recognition that we all seemed to surf like a wave, riding emotion, not hard-won facts, until I eventually figured out almost with a shrug that facts and emotions were often pretty much the same thing. I wrote for 12 one-hour dramas in my 25 years and created 2 of them myself. I was broke and rich and left to marvel at my luck because that's what it always seemed like. The accident of being in the right place or time and riding your own curiosity like a runaway horse. All those boats, from tiny prams to Ted Turner's Tenacious, seemed the frame of my picture. In the height of the Fastnet storm, as we survived among breaking 25-foot seas and winds I had never imagined could blow so hard or so long, I felt all the tiny gradations of my own history somehow contained in them, and gloriously. Time didn't stop. It seemed in those moments to have no beginning or end, to be no longer linear, but that all the events of life existed simultaneously. We live our lives at a desk or in a car, or fulfilling some need of employment, and at the same time, in our heads, we are never outside ourselves, or can be. But every autobiography, however different in its detail, is the autobiography of us all. For some of us, there's always water in the sea. All my life I sought to be on the ocean, as if there I could somehow or other take stock of the land. I was a boy when Sir Francis Chichester made his first solo transatlantic, and I wondered what drove him. He wasn't very introspective, and yet he said he felt most alive and most himself out there. That was his proof of life and of identity, and mine too. It seemed unlikely I could join him there until I saw Thelonious, a neglected sailboat, floating at a dock from an angle such that her lines were just right, righter than I'd ever seen. I was retired and 70 years old, and yet there was much left to do, or perhaps to undo. Every autobiography, for all its triumphs, is a story also of doubt and regret, and I bore the scars, as all of us must. But there's always a new chance and a new sailboat and a new horizon. We have no choice in who we are, and in the end, our only job is to be us, to play out the story that's ours alone, and at once the story of us all. Thelonious finally took me beyond ambition to the door of the universe offshore, naked as the seabird who stared down at me from the masthead, and who didn't seem to question how he got there, or what his wings were for, or what it all meant to be alone on an ocean 3,000 fathoms deep. I asked that bird my questions, and he just stared back without reply. The silence seemed to be the answer. It was a world apart from ambition or regret, but oddly still populated with everyone I had ever known, who were with me there and would be to the end of my time. Such is the purpose of autobiography, to confess and share and report in the knowledge that we are all as much alike as we are different, and to not expect an answer. I hope you'll come along on the long voyage home. I like the company.